everybody. Welcome to the Friday, obviously late edition of Reaper Pro Tips. Sorry about that. This morning got away from me. David slept in, which meant that my alarm, he's my alarm usually, so he pushed snooze a little bit too long. So here I am, late but here. Better late than never, as they say. Yes. So, and we're talking movies, I see. Or Thursday, sorry. For me, it's Friday, haha. You guys know I've been like no brain all week, right? You're aware of this. Hold on. Anyway, there are other people here. Like there's Kiki and Quindy, and there's never Justin and John, but we give them props anyway. Anyway, it's Friday for me because I'm not here tomorrow. Yay! So my brain is already on Friday mode. Here's a Kiki for you to make up for my brain or my lack thereof. Yeah. Yeah, I feel totally like I'm out of it. I'm discombobulated, folks. It's Friday, Thursday. Hi, good girl. Somebody's very calm. Somebody's very calm. Hi, baby girl. Hi. Yes, time is an illusion, right? Let's be Einstein, Kiki. Do you feel smart enough to be Einstein? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Keeks. Good girl. Do you still have your bully stick, or did you eat it? You have it. Good girl. Yeah, fun chewing then. Good girl. Oh, good girl. Yeah. Yeah, she's my monster. She's a tiny Shiloh, though. She's a tiny Shiloh. Like, she's actually a shrinky dink. She's like her grandma Nova. She got the tiny genes. She is tiny but mighty. Here, let me move. I got all this sculpting crap out here. Gotta put this stuff away. Did not put stuff away yesterday. I was very bad at putting stuff away. But anyway, yeah, Kiki's little. She'll like maybe make the minimum height for a female Shiloh. She's like just under it right now. So, but yeah, not that anybody cares. With an outcross, you get a little bit of leeway. Alrighty. All that said, and things stored, let us get over here. But that said, I think she's at least 75 pounds. She's quite beefy. She's very wide. She's short but wide. She's a tank. Alrighty. I was going to maybe deal with some of this other metallic stuff, wasn't I? Yeah, and some of that. And I hadn't yet. I decided I was going to make the shield strap blue. So where's my carbon scoring glue? I'm going to block that in because I think I want that. It needs balance. We have blue like here and here and here and here, but we don't have it there. So I'm going to make that shield strap blue to help balance it. Sorry for my throat being all silly this morning. I think there's stuff in the air. Stuff in the air. Alrighty. But yes, so I am not here tomorrow. I'm not here Monday. I am going to be in Yosemite with a Kiki. Hopefully not getting eaten by bears. And I need to do some reading tonight. We have a dog-friendly trail picked out. That's just outside the park, but I wanted to look at a couple more. I saw the original Star Wars in the theater. I was a tiny child, but my dad took me anyway because Mom had no interest in going. And he should blame himself for me being weird, really. Mom always blamed California. And she probably has a point too, but I mean, I was born here in the geekery of Silicon Valley. There we go. So that helps balance. See how that helps balance it? And then we'll line a little bit around that. And just be working kind of freeform today, I think. It is. Yeah, I'm out this month because it's Kiki's half-siblings litter evaluation, Quindy. So I'm out Thursday, Friday. Because I fly out there Thursday. It pretty much takes a whole freaking day. Because of a one-stop flight. So I will be puppying. And that'll be cute and fun. Although, there it is. I can use this. It's also it's going to be very much me supporting Bridget, I think. She's having some bad family stuff that sprung up just now at the end of the litter, and she's having to kind of wrestle between her family obligations and the puppies, and so it's not fun. So I'm very much expecting to work my butt off instead of just to hang out and have fun. But I think my friend Shani is coming too, and she also is a hard worker, so I know I'll have somebody to work my butt off with. Oh, nice. Kronika, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got to see Raiders of the Lost Ark when it came out in the film. I got to see Fellowship of the Ring when it came out, first thing. We even got a special screening of that because I worked at Games Workshop out east at the time, and GW bought out the theater because we had a franchise agreement with the Tolkien Foundation, to do the movie stuff, miniatures. And so they actually bought out the theater, and everybody at GW went to see Fellowship of the Ring. But yeah, episodes 1 through 3 were mediocre. But I did get to see probably the most interesting one. That was when I got to meet George Lucas. I actually had a client who worked for Lucasfilm, and a miniatures client, I mean. And I did get to go out and see a pre-screening of episode, was it 1? It may have been 2. I don't remember. One of those. So even though the movies were were lackluster, it was still cool. Well, yeah, you can't, blame the poor kid. Hello, parents. You gave your kid nightmares for the rest of their formative years. How dumb is that? Yeah. I find millennials to actually be refreshingly pragmatic in many ways. At least the millennials I have known. I mean, they kind of know that they're screwed. And they're kind of, annoyed and bitter about it, but many of them are still, determined to make it work somehow. So, I don't know. I don't look down on the millennials generation. I feel like we've left them with a very, very messed up world, and I look forward to what they do when they finally get into government. So I'm doing some lining there just around that strap just to really bring it out and tighten it up. I got a little messy on it, so I just wanted to bring that a little bit out. You're technically, so you edged in, huh? Yeah. David, I think, I don't think he's in my generation. Hold on, because I'm Gen X. So hold on, let me look. And I'm very much a Gen Xer. I think he's in the following one, though. I don't think he's a millennial. Let's see. Born as... Oh, yeah, technically David squeaks into millennials. Yeah. Okay. Normally defined as born from 1965 to 1980. Yeah. Yeah, I robbed the cradle with David, and I'm quite happy with that. Well, you gotta, you can't generalize just from a few samples either. And also, people change a lot from when they're in their 20s and even their 30s, as they move into later in life, depending, right? Like, there are plenty of my generation who are also kind of like sit at home and not move out types, right? So I can't just blame millennials on that. And honestly, I was thoroughly half-assed for the first 2/3 of my life. So, and now I got it together and I am a force, but like it took me a long time to get there maturity-wise. And not everybody will get there. Obviously, there are lots of people who just are half-assed through their whole lives. Some of us maybe, and it's okay, right? Not everybody has to get to their shit together to the point that I did, but yeah. And there's also like I've known some very practical, like very pragmatic Gen Xers not Gen Xers, millennials. So yeah, it really depends. I mean. All right, just making sure I've got pretty tight lining around everything with the leather. I think I want to bring the leather up today. I'm going to be using some of the colors we used on the hair to do that, I think. But I may go a little orangier. Yeah, tools for getting along and not useful if used to not get along. Yes, yes. Agreed, Zachariah. Exennial. Yeah. I am firmly Gen X. Yeah. And some of the things about Gen X I do typify, but then especially earlier in my life where I would just switch between careers and jobs and everything. But then I hit Reaper and suddenly I rediscovered my father's work ethic and proceeded to work there for 20 years. So some ways I do not typify Generation X. But I was thinking the other day about, how the world has changed because, with all the AI stuff, and I haven't even dipped my toe into the AI stuff. I'm curious, but I know it will be a giant time sucker, and so I haven't. But when I was in grade school, we got our first computers. They were Apple IICs and Apple IIEs. We had a little computer club in my rural Wisconsin grade school. So it was like, I remember when the first computers came. I remember when we got the first computer, well, maybe not the first computers, but the first publicly in schools computers came. Bye, Crowley. Wow, you've gotten early meetings lately. Right. They don't, right? Because people just generalize to people younger than me. And it feels to me like for the last 5 to 10 years, people have been complaining about millennials when really, yeah, exactly. They just look at the young person and assume that that's that, right? I agree with you, Quindy. Ping pong. Ah, Lordy. All right. Pong. Yes. Just Pong. Yes. But for a while I was just like, because it was very clever if you said something like chess, like it was actually real games before that. Oregon Trail was really the only computer game. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, mommy. I got it. I agree. All right, I'm actually gonna just base coat the rim of the shield in this liner. I'm gonna do the entire backside dark as well, but in the end, and this is gonna come up really close against these gloves, which is why we have to bring them up. I may come back and paint the back of the shield black, but right now I just want it dark because I'm gonna be putting metallics over it, or over part of it. Probably will do wood grain on the back of it here. But for now, I just want to get a dark tone down and then I can come back. I'll probably come back with black right now after it's dried and outline around the gloves so that I can do that stuff. I liked the dungeon exploration one. I like the first iteration of Dungeons and Dragons on a computer game. I like Muds and Mushes. We had an Intellivision video game console when I was a kid. My mom actually was better at it than me and my brother. I think my mom would totally have been into video games if she would have been like my generation instead of her generation. But as it is, she got sick of it and put the console down. I don't think she ever played another game. But she used to play. Yeah, to make it not a reality, right? Right up to the wire, right? So it's like, we can't blame like people for dragging their feet on stuff because people still drag their feet. Like, it's not like we just invented dragging our feet. Here's looking at you, debt ceiling. I'm going to do a dark color on the bottom of this cape. And since I've got my dark color, this is my time to block all this in. So whenever you have this lower, just smooth area, that's entirely because you had to have the fill in here in the molds for this product to mold. You want to just darken it in. You don't have to do anything other than paint it in a really dark brown or your black color. But yeah, I remember the first Dungeons and Dragons game for console because we had it. And there was a Space Invaders kind of game that was one Mom was addicted to, and I played a lot of. But yeah, it was a cool time to be a kid. Oh, you played Duke Nukem. Okay. Yeah, I never did. I never got into that. Oh, pre-DOS. Alrighty, so we're getting less and less. I'm going to block in the what's going to be brass over here too. And that way we'll have covered up all of the gray on the model except for the base. Considering covering up and doing a snow base on this model, like covering up the base or cutting her off. Maybe I'll see if I have any Super Sculpey and sculpt a base like we were talking about the other day. I don't know if I still have Super Sculpey though. I still do want to do a little bit more work on the skin tone too. It's not at a finished level for me. Need more highlights. There we go. All right. And now we've only got the back of the shield here. I'm actually going to do the shield, that all in blue, just to touch up my little blurf there. Yeah, King's Quest. Yep. I can't remember which one. There was the King's Quest game with the female protagonist. I played that one to death. That was much after text, though. Oh, come home after work and play that game. That and the Gold Box D&D games. Pool of Radiance and thus all that. I love those dang things, and I played them over and over. So we'll do this quartered in blue and white, but for now I'm just going to block it all in blue. We can put the white over the top of the blue pretty easily. And I do need to make sure my lining keeps up, so I've got a little bit of bleed into that, and I need to fix that. Yeah, right. I've got a little bit of flash there. I thought it was a rivet, but it's not. It is a weird piece at the end of what was a very, very tiny mold line. There you go. Caerindra. But yeah, I do love what video games have become, like, in a way. I do love that. I love pretty games, so I'm so happy that graphics are as good as they are now. You know what we really need? We need a new D&D computer game that's decent. Now that the movie, did well. We really need we need a new version of Pool of Radiance that's like really kick butt open world like type of D&D story stuff. Because if it comes out, I'll play it. Like, it's like, give me a new D&D computer game, I will play it. I played Baldur's Gate. I played the original Gold Box stuff. Like, I really want. I played Planescape Torment. Baldur's Gate 3 is coming. Good, good. I will play. I will play. Yes, they suddenly woke up to the fact that D&D is actually like popular. Yeah, I know. It took them long enough, right? This is key, giant corporation thinking or not thinking. So the question here is, do we line between the sections on the shield? And if it was traditional heraldic, I'd say no. But these sections are actually sculpted on. And because of that, I think I will put a very lightweight dark line through here. Oh, yeah, Divinity. Yeah. Oh, good, Zachariah. Well, now I'm looking forward to. When's it coming out? Hey, Fancy. AKA Riot. I will always remember Fancy Riots now. No, I don't switch up my liners, Pendrake. As a painter, with some exceptions, I tend to keep to the organic color for real lining. So for this thing, I wouldn't use blue liner. It would be to my eye kind of discordant. It would make it out of alignment with the rest of the figure. That's purely me, and anybody else could use blue. But I actually do not like the look of lining with different colors over the course of an entire miniature. So if I was going to use like a blue liner, I would use it on everything, and it would have to be a model that made sense to use blue liner on everything. I'm more likely actually as a painter to use blue liner as an actual paint color than I am to use it as a liner. Brown liner and Rogue Shadow are my go-to liners, and then I use gray liner, but I only use gray liner actually as a shader for NMM, so I don't actually use gray liner for a liner. So I use many of the liner colors as just colors. And really, I stick to the browns because they tend to create grayed out shadows. And that's what you want for a natural look, because it's what I like. I've not decided on heraldry yet, Pendrake. It's early access. They say it's to be released when ready. Okay, that's great, Zachariah. That's what I like to hear. I like to hear game companies being committed to making a good game and releasing a good product. Oh, okay. Is it Kickstarter or is it Steam, Zachariah? Are they doing it on Steam? I was thinking of a bird with spread wings, an eagle, Pendrake. Steam? All right. Let me make a note. Let me make a note. Not that I need any more distractions with, like, freaking Diablo coming out. But Baldur's Gate 3. I will look at it. Because I do love D&D games. But yeah, I was thinking an eagle, like a white eagle or a black eagle over the white and blue. I don't know. I haven't decided. I could go blue and black on the shield and do a white eagle. And then invert it into a black eagle on her cape, which I haven't finished highlighting, and I really need to do that. So real thin lines here. You don't want to get too heavy-handed. Just enough to separate them. Well, it's not going to be a black border, though. It's going to be silver. This is just to put down a color before I do metallics. I wanted to cover up the gray. It was bothering me. But yeah, so you'll never see me do blue liner. If I'm lining with a brown color, I'll switch back and forth between Rogue Shadow and brown liner because the Rogue Shadow has more coverage. So when I need more coverage, I'll use the Rogue. And when I need a more natural line, I'll tend to use brown liner. So you see me go back and forth between the two browns, but you won't see me actually go back and forth between a brown liner, which I consider very natural, and a colored liner, which I consider unnatural. They taken a sweet time with it, huh? Baldur's Gate 3. And I do need to line around the edges of the cape here as well. So again, I'm going to do a real thin line there. If it's been out and in testing on Steam for a couple of years, then they must have a lot of it done, which is great. Which means I can go look at it. I'm all for companies doing that, saying, hey, we're going to do this game. If you buy it now, you get in on the beta and you can play it and give us feedback as we tweak it. And I really think that actually is a pretty good development model. It gives the companies income so that they can, keep going as long as they need to, and it, in some ways, you might argue it kills excitement for the game, but there are still plenty of people who aren't going to buy it before it's out, so. And then they can get actual feedback. So I kind of like that model of game development. Mostly, I just don't like companies producing a game with all sorts of problems. Or that they really obviously didn't beta test and it comes out and it's just terrible. The initial release of Final Fantasy XII comes to mind. I think it was 12, maybe it was 13. Don't remember. Was the second online game, and when it first came out, it was absolutely awful. I played it and I was like, I'm done. And I actually haven't gone back, even though 14 is supposed to be amazing. I just don't need an MMO in my life right now. Yeah. The first time it came out, Polly, it sucked. They fixed it, but yeah. The problem with MMOs is they're just time suckers for me, and I have books to write, dang it. The books are keeping me from totally diving into computer addiction again. I'm on chapter 20. I just finished chapter 28, I think, editing chapter 28 of the book, the new book. Now I'm to the point where I've got a chapter I have to rewrite from scratch, and that's like, it's like, you know, you're editing normally, you're just rewriting what you've actually written, you know, you're just like you know, tuning it and stuff. And sometimes you have to rewrite whole paragraphs or write half a page of fresh writing, but you still have a framework to work from. But then when you go and you hit a chapter where you're like, okay, all of this in the bin, it's time to rewrite from scratch, and you're just like, oh, it takes the wind out of you. But I figure in Yosemite, I'll have lots of time to like kind of muse, like with the car rides, I'll have lots of time to think about that chapter, and I should have plenty of time to kind of figure out how I'm going to tackle it. Yeah, 13. It was probably 13 Kodiak. And then the one now is 14, and it's supposed to be wonderful. If you like story, which, you know, some people don't. My husband. Although actually, what did he actually is enjoying the story. This is unknown with David. He's enjoying the story in Diablo 4. I'm like, what? Who is this man? Who is this man I married? What happened to him? Yes. Yeah. No, Kiki's good in the car, Twistoma. When we went to Arizona, she's just really good in the car. The only thing is you have to make sure everything in the rear, like I have a car barrier and behind it is all the luggage and stuff, and in front of it is a Kiki, and then I'm in the front seats. You have to make sure all the stuff is lashed down, because if anything moves back there, she's trying to climb into the front seat. But otherwise, Kiki is very good. In the Arizona trip, she was just there. She chilled. She chilled the whole way. She's very good. I think that after all the road trips we're doing this year, she's going to be like a car dog excellence. Like par excellence. Which is great. I like that. I like when my dogs are good travelers. All right, so I do have a little bit of the gray left here, just to remind me to not forget those. I'm going to grab some black. I want the back of the shield black. Blue BMWs. I'll tell you, my car repair guys just went up by $1,000, so I am sitting here going, maybe I just need to buy a new car sometime in the future. Yeah. Oh no, Kerniko. Obviously, the earwig was like, you're done with gardening. Going and paint some minis. Yeah, Quindy and I are agreed with bugs. We are not into bugs. So if a massive earwig got on my hand, I would be like, nyeh! This is why I don't really garden. I like pot garden. I like putting plants in pots. There isn't quite as much grubbing around in the dirt where actual bugs can eat me. Aw, they only said who was bad? That's absolutely so modern day media. Don't tell us who the nice drivers are. Only tell us who the bad drivers are. Only give us the bad news. That's so ridiculous. Come on. Maybe they didn't want to... well, no, that should have. Or maybe it was just that the data said everybody was equally nice except for the BMW drivers. Yeah, exactly, Quindy. Exactly. Yuck. Yuck! Kerniko grossing me out. Ah! No bug nightmares, please. Ah. Yeah, Wrath of Khan, it's all that. I think watching that movie as a child probably gave me... Well, that and I had a walking stick that got caught in my hair when I was a little girl. I think ever since then, that's my gut reaction to bugs, is to flail around until it leaves me alone. I have not grown any more mature since those days when it regards to insects. Or they left out the part that everybody drives BMWs, right? So it's just the color. That's funny. Yeah, no thank you. No, no bugs. Please, no bugs. Bugs are scary. Bugs are nasty. No bugs. Oh, I need to do... So I need to do a lot of silver. I need to hit the... I probably need to think about brass. Probably I need to make this brass as well so that I can balance out my metal colors. I don't want to make the sword all silver. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think I would do... I have lots of metal to put on here still, though. Oh, and brass down there. Okay, so brass, 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 and brass. And that should help repeat the color around. So, all right, I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to use my dark brown to base coat all those things. And then I'm going to grab my brass and just block it in. So I don't forget it, and then I can mess with it later. Yeah, no night fuel, no nightmare fuel, please. I zero shame about asking them to save you, yep. There is a tiny little bit of handle showing here, so I get the blue out. All right, where's my brass? There it is. Tarnished brass, 91.98. Always my go-to for brass. I liked caterpillars when I was a kid, but yeah, my disinterest in bugs grew with age. So I have my bird feeder up as of a couple days ago, and we have the fat birds, which are our dark-eyed something or others. I looked them up on my bird thing. Pardon me. My brass is very globby, so I just popped the top off to get just the little bit that I need. And then promptly got a little bit of it on my pants. But this is okay. So when you accidentally get paint on your clothing, if you notice right away, which I did, you need to grab some water and dab it over the paint really quick. Make sure that you get it pretty well saturated. If you do that, then it'll come out in the wash. If you miss it and it dries at all, then you're going to have to use something like Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer and to loosen it. Yeah, it might be a dark-eyed junco. I don't know. It's a dark-eyed something or other. They're fat birds. I call them fat birds. They're little brown birds, medium-sized brown birds. And they have very loud cheeps. Like their sound is cheep. They have a very loud cheep. So they're loud and fat birds. But they came along because there had been seed that got spilled when I filled the feeder, because I've never filled a feeder before. And they essentially have been happily eating the seed that was on the ground. They have not gone into the bird feeder, though. And I haven't seen my little pygmy nuthatches or anybody else yet. But I expect they're all just kind of eyeing this new addition to the tree, especially because we took down the lime tree also. So 2 things changed in their environment over here. So I suspect it will take them some days to get used to it. But yeah, I just noticed a picture that matched my fat bird on the side of the box that the bird feeder came in. So it was a dark-eyed something or other. That's all I know. But yeah, so I'm hoping that during the 4 days we'll be away at Yosemite, the birds will figure out that the bird feeder has food. But I haven't seen squirrels either, so. Oh, that's really cool, Quindy. Little brown jobs. Yep. LBJ's works too. They're cute. Kiki loves watching them. I think that if we really start getting some bird traffic, Kiki will be thrilled because she loves birds and she wants to chase them all the time. But she's actually gotten very good at just sitting and watching them. Like, she knows she can't get through the door or the glass windows. So she's just kind of like, she watches them very intently. But she's good. She doesn't like jump up and down and bark or anything to scare them away. I watched her. She was watching a little fat bird this morning. In fact, it was her that that alerted me that little fat bird was out there. Because she was watching something very intently, so I came over to look. Sure enough. To entertain your cat. Yep. That was my fish tanks. Ishtar was very, it was cat TV in my fish tanks when I had saltwater tanks back in Wisconsin. It was definitely cat TV. Now my bird feeder. And hopefully, eventually, my bird bath, when it eventually arrives after, you know, being constructed by hand from particulate stone, apparently. But, well, it should be fun for Kiki to watch. I did not, because I haven't had a problem yet, Lady Kachara. Since I just put the bird feeder up, nobody's touching it because it's a strange new thing. I didn't see the squirrels come out anywhere near it yesterday afternoon, which is the first like day that it was up. And I did get one of the squirrel busters. So I did get, we'll see how it works, if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'll do the cayenne thing. But I got the one that closes when a heavier weight lands on it, and you have to put them over 18 inches away from any limb or the ground so that the squirrel is forced to actually go onto the bird feeder to try to get the food. I'm sure they can learn to just shake the dang thing to get stuff out of it, but we'll see how that works. Sunflower. Yeah, I have sunflower in my mix of seed that I got. We have a local wild bird store though, so I really want to go over to them. They have apparently they have bulk mixes that are custom for different bird types. It's a little local store, not a chain. I will say that actually, since coming out here to the West Coast, there are a lot of little local shops like that. Like there's my yarn shop too. That's not a chain. I've been kind of gratified at the number of like small local businesses in our area. There's big stuff too if you go down into San Jose proper, but a lot of the businesses on our little street that kind of, you know, runs down the middle of Mountain View where the city government is, a lot of those restaurants and everything aren't chains, they're local business. So that's really cool. Sunflower hearts, yeah. I got it. I don't think they've got the oats. I noticed there's a thing called Milo. What is that? Is that a grain? Milo. And everybody's like, yeah, songbirds won't touch that stuff and it'll just be a waste. But it looks like they use it as filler in a lot of bird blends. I don't think it has oats. One of the mixes did have corn in it, and that also is probably not edible for those guys. We'll see. Though I'm sure the mice will eat it up. The local rodents. Yeah, that's why I hung my bird feeder with 18 inches away from anything. No squirrel is going to be able to stretch itself out to 18 inches to get at the food. So we'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, if the squirrels figure out a way to get around the squirrel buster, then I'll do the cayenne trick. But if I've made it hard enough, because that's the thing is, like, with our climate and where we are, I'm sure there's lots of other feeders and stuff around. There's all sorts of food for these animals already, so it's not like they're totally hurting for food. So I imagine if I just make mine a little harder to get at, I may be fine. They'll take the easy. They'll go steal my figs in the front yard. Yeah, I can't do that, Fendrake. I have too many squirrels. I really don't want the squirrels to just eat everything. When you've got one squirrel, I can see it. One squirrel that really is willing to go through, you know, jump through the hoops to get the food. But squirrels can, like, totally ransack your bird feeder, too, so. And I don't want to. I've already got at least 2 on that side of the house and more in the backyard, so I'm not sure. I just don't want them to eat all the seed and nothing for the birds. Yeah, okay. So yeah, millet. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh no. Ghost pepper. Yeah, we have a pest guy who regularly checks our perimeter sagebrush to make sure there's no openings big enough for them to get into the house. And he actually goes much smaller than a squirrel would be able to access. I mean, we have no choice. There are squirrels in our neighborhood, sagebrush. So, you know, no squirrels anywhere near the house ain't happening. I see them running across the back of the fence all the time while I'm on this stream. So they're here. It's just we try to keep a secure perimeter. Something that even a mouse or a rat, which can collapse its skull, can't get in. Sorghum plant. Sorghum is actually a grain, Twisted Oma. It's one of the grains you can eat if you're gluten-free. It has a particular texture to it that's good for some applications and not for others. Yeah, I just don't want a cat right now. I don't want a litter box. I have enough crazy. I hit a point yesterday where I was definitely feeling overwhelmed, and that's a bad sign. So I needed to back off a bit. All right, let's grab our let's not grab our metallic. It wants to run away from us. Hey, you metallic, come back here. And let's block in all of our silver where it goes, so Pendrake and other people are not confused and thinking I'm going to keep a black rim on the shield. Corn feeders for squirrels. Yeah, see, the thing is, if I did have a cat again, it would be an entirely indoor cat. I get the heebie-jeebies every time I see somebody's outdoor cat around here crossing the street when there's a car coming. There are a couple of outdoor cats around in our neighborhood. I just don't trust motorists, and all my previous cats were all indoor, and they lived very good, long lives, so... So we're just going to go and take this silver and put it on. No, you got the quinoa. You spelled it right. And sorghum. Yeah, it looks like quinoa. Sorghum, but yeah, like quinoa, it is a grain. But it's not a nut, and birds seem to like nuts and seeds the best. I mean, it has the protein and fat mixture, right? So... plus a bit of carb. It's probably pretty nutritious if you look at, you know, the nuts we eat. And those little buggers have high metabolisms, and they need that nutrition. At least some of them. Fatbird doesn't seem to have a very high metabolism. Although Fatbird was looking a little thinner when I saw him or her this year, and so I was a little concerned. Fatbird is not as fat anymore. Need to feed him up. Don't want my fat birds to become skinny birds. Yeah, they're supposed to be. They're supposed to cope with it, Pendrake. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very good. We have self-driving cars. There's a company that that drives around our neighborhood very regularly. I see them almost every day. Just training it and exposing it to new stimuli. All right, and I'll put another coat on. If you're metallic, it doesn't have a huge amount of coverage. Or if you just want it to be shinier, you can put a second coat on. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with outdoor cats is they do impact the songbird population. So I don't want to... Our songbirds are already under siege. Not nearly as many of them as there used to be, so... Yeah, gray squirrels are aggressive too. They're the more aggressive squirrels. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we have black ones. We have black squirrels and gray squirrels. I'm a fan of the black ones and not so much the gray. I like them as critters. I just don't want them to eat all the birds' food. Yeah, so I should be able... Well, I have to be able to pick up my car today. Stupid repair. On the plus side, the extra repair, the extra thing they found is actually dangerous if it's not fixed. So I'm glad they found it, but my wallet, which is out an extra $1,000, is not happy. I had started to hope that I would get out of this repair at only the $2,000 mark, and now I'm not getting out for until the $3,000 mark. So that doesn't feel great. Yeah, they'd be really good for the elderly. They'd also be really good, honestly, if they could make it work for truckers, Pendrake, since, it's like falling asleep on the road and, having to drive all night. And of course, there are laws now, I think, that try to prohibit that, but it's still, like, not ideal to have a human being, like, sitting in a car for 12 to 15 hours a day. I'm sure that the truckers would argue with me on that. They would be like, don't take away our jobs. So there's more than one viewpoint on that for sure. But yeah, it's a big repair, Carnico. They just found out they really needed to replace 2 wheel bearings, and that can be dangerous to have worn out wheel bearings. So I looked it up online, and the price was in line with what it should cost, considering where I live. So they're not trying to gouge me. And it is, since it is considered to be a dangerous thing not to fix, I really had to do it. All I can say is if I get a self-driving car at some point in my life, I am totally giving it a name. At that point, they'll probably have AIs in them. So I could totally get away with naming my car at that point. Like, it's only a matter of time until we get into our car and it says, "Good morning, where would you like to go today?" in a chirpy voice or whatever voice we want to give it. We better be able to customize the voice too. Yeah, it is a major bummer, Quindy. I could have spent that money on yarn and miniatures, dang it! Yeah. Fistic, that's funny. Yeah, there are. Yeah. Yeah, I know they complain about them, Pendrake, but I'm sure it reduces, like, accidents. Like, we've all, like, those of us who've been driving for a long time all remember, like, being on the road late at night with a trucker that kept swerving like they were falling asleep. I can remember I never would drive next to a semi for any longer than I had to if it was, like, late hours or they were driving erratically. But, yeah, I'm sure that it is much complained, but... Fernando. Perfectly fine name for a Japanese car. Mine is the elephant because element. It should technically Kevin should have named his the elephant because Kevin at Reaper got an element also because he saw mine and he really liked it, so he bought one. But his is gray, so it actually could be an elephant, whereas mine is orange, so mine is an orange painted elephant. But he named his the rhino instead. But yeah, I will give mine a proper name if we end up getting self-driving car at some point. All right, so we've got all that blocked in. We've got our brass blocked in. I still need to work with the silver. We need to get these chainmail. So for these, if you have a very light touch and a softer brush like a sable, well, you could technically use a Taklon if you had a really good tip. Here, let's dig out my good Taklon here. So if you have a good Taklon with a very fine tip, you can do this with that. It is going to be a bit stiffer, so it does run the risk of essentially running together, like if you have too much paint on your brush. So when you get the paint on your brush, get just a little, and then make sure to dab most of it off. Just like dry brushing, but not dry brushing. You don't want to get all of it off. You want there to be enough paint that when you go gently over the top, you can hit all these little... And notice I'm using the side of the brush to paint. But you do not need to dry brush this sort of thing. You can just leave a little paint on your brush and just lightly brush over the top, and get better results, frankly. Dry brushing makes sense if you're working on something big like terrain where you want to go fast, or a big monster or something, a dragon that you need to get done for the tabletop. All that sort of stuff, dry brushing makes sense. But when you're trying to paint a small model and you're trying to paint it decently, and it's got like some nice texture like this, it's honestly better to take your time and just gently brush over the top of the texture. Then if you see anywhere where things got a bit muddy, you can go back and use some black or some dark brown and touch it up. Yeah, exactly. This is very satisfying because the texture is so nicely done. I mean, you can do this on bigger stuff too. I tend to do side brushing for my terrain stuff when I paint it. Just because, you know, I can do it fairly fast and I like the look of it better than real dry brushing. Now, ideally we want to shade this too, like we shaded the other things, but I'm going to work on buckles first. And there really isn't any other way to do chainmail. Like, in this case, like it's dry brushing or side brushing, or it's paint it really light silver and go over it with a very dark wash. You're going to get about the same effect. Yeah, see, I was using my synthetic there, but it doesn't have quite as fine a tip as my sable, so I got a little muddy. So I'm going to put the synthetic away. Oh, and for those who asked for my muffin recipe yesterday for the flax muffin, I'm going to be making them today, so I will remind myself to post the recipe. Because I have to dig it out. Yeah, I can see that too in our where they ping off of each other just to, keep everybody in, like kind of like air traffic control, but run by AI. Traffic, ground traffic control. And boy, it would make merging so much better. This little buckle is fighting me. There we go. Ah. Yeah, sometimes new things are not better things. Hello, Gallifire. Long time no see. Yeah, I guess arrival times would get a bit more predictable, wouldn't they? No, I don't know. Yeah, I'm willing to give self-driving cars a chance. If it lowers accidents, the chance of accidents, and enables like the elderly to get around better and safer. With any technology, there's going to be like hiccups and things we don't foresee that might be problems, but yeah, willing to give it a chance. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of that here. We have a lot of bike lanes and bike trails, and we don't have trolleys. The problem with trolleys is, it's urban for sure, right? When stuff is spread far apart, it's not a good thing. We have trains here. The problem with trains is like jurisdictions between areas can get messy. At least out here in the bay, it got messy. So like there's like different lines of trains that kind of like every town has its own little train line, and they don't necessarily interface. So it's kind of a pain. Alrighty, just kind of touching up a little bit. Got those buckles. Everything is the problem here with doing the buckles in silver, though, that I'm seeing right now, is that now everything is kind of confused. And this is something with metallics that you will find. It is this problem that is very specific to metallics. If I had done this with NMM folks, we wouldn't have this confusion here, because I would be able to de-emphasize or emphasize where the highlights fall. But because my metallics are dependent on light actually falling on the model to really pick up the shapes and everything, no matter how cleverly I use shading, I'm still going to run into this confusion here with the same colors of metal and all of it reflecting at once. So this is where NMM, when people talk about NMM being better for photography, and I would argue sometimes just for video even, this is what they're talking about. Is like, with NMM, I could isolate each of these buckles and make them very precise, and I could put the highlights on the armor in such a way as to make sure that there was no visual confusion. But with metallics, the light's going to reflect off the metal. You have no control. So I wouldn't want to use a darker one, Crowley, because if anything, the armor should be darker and these should be brighter. Because when you have a tiny little thing, if you put a dark metallic on it, it's not going to show up. The thing that I can do is I can make these buckles in brass instead. But this is the issue with metallics. This is why why competition and ads painters and box art painters tend to gravitate toward NMM, is because you can't control the metal. It's so hard to see all of your work, even if you take a ton of time. And you can do it obviously easier on something big like Mr. Grumpy, right? Like on a bust. But when you're doing true metallics on a 28 millimeter, you don't have a lot of control. And that's why you see a lot of NMM on 28 millimeter, especially for ads. Because otherwise it's hard to get a good photo. It doesn't look good. Yeah. But yeah, do you see, though, Crowley, why you wouldn't use a darker metallic for the very tiny things? Because you need those tiny things to stand out. If you use a dark metallic, they're just going to disappear. But yeah, public transportation is definitely something that is necessary as an option, in my opinion. Having lived now in an area that does not lend itself to public transportation very well, that's very, very spread out, i.e. Texas, less useful. I think you want both. I think you want a good public transport system, and you also want like electric self-driving cars, ideally. People are going to want their own car because they're used to it. They're used to having that freedom to just go, right? And then there are all of the retail stores that are away from a public transport line, right? That would lose a lot of traffic. So it's a complex problem, just like anything big like this. I'm going to try to just put my my brass over the top of the silver. Might not work. I might have to go for a darker undercoat to paint over the silver before I do the brass. Because the silver is essentially just putting brass over a light gray. I can see that a little better. Yeah, to use the trolley, you still have to go downtown and find a place to park. Exactly, yeah. I did drive into NYC and had my car broken into. Long time ago. When I lived out on the East Coast. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see that that's a little different, but it's really not showing up. So I'm going to actually grab my dark brown, paint over those, and do them again. Yeah, I could take the train to the airport here, but it involves crossing 2 train lines, which is actually a pain. So I've only done it once. Usually I just have David, I try to use San Jose instead of San Francisco, and I have David drop me off because it's only 15 minutes from our house. All right, so let's do this. So let's go over the top of these and go over them again with the brass. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in some places in the country, our towns aren't structured right for the public transport, right? Like I was saying, stores that are destination locations that you drive to, but that don't have a public transportation option nearby. Like, whereas if you switched over to mostly public transportation, Ideally, you'd have all your stores like organized into kind of hubs, right? So that the train would go to them. The shopping center would make a comeback, but it would be everything, right? I feel like public transport would revive the idea of the shopping mall and the shopping center. Like if it became like the primary way of getting around. Because you wouldn't be able to get to farther flung locations. All the stores would need to be in one place. And that, unfortunately, would probably drive out little mom and pop places because they wouldn't, the people who owned those shopping malls would want to get maximum rent and they would be able to demand it, but little independent stores wouldn't have that option or wouldn't be able to afford it. So I can see like pluses and minuses. Oh no. Oh, that's terrible, Inara. Yeah, exactly. To make public, yeah. Because it's the distances, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Exactly, Pendrake. I mean, we have a train in Denton that'll take you down to Dallas, Fort Worth. And I don't know how much it costs them to build that, but... And I don't know how many people use it. I did use the train to take... I took it from Kenosha down to Chicago. When I had some friends visiting, we went down to the Institute of Art. And it was easy to use the train for that. So it's good for things like that, like day trips, getting into the city. My brother takes the train when he goes down to Chicago. Same train, I suspect. It's definitely useful for commuting if it's like convenient to the places you're going to go. I know if I had to use public transport like to do my grocery runs and everything, I would certainly be a lot more organized as far as making as few trips as I could and trying to probably buy more at once. Yeah, some airports, like actually Hawaii, Honolulu has, Oahu has a great bus system, which I used when I went there. Very convenient. Goes pretty much everywhere on the island you'd want to go. And they have shuttles and stuff like that too for more in Honolulu. All right, so now I've got those. They at least look a little different, but still. Oh yeah, they're expanding DFW. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, DFW Airport is already 8 miles long. Think about that. Think about that for a moment. And you can drive through it if you're going south down to Arlington from up where I am. Or was. All right, yeah, that's just not standing out the way I had hoped, but it is what it is. It's just metallics. So that at least has our basic colors set out. I could make her hair more red and actually double down on the red, yellow, blue color scheme. If I decided to change it up a little bit. Go more into the mahogany brown, which is a very heavy red base. it would start reading that way. Right now it's more an orange and blue with some yellow. And if I used some red shading on my gold, I could go very much orange and blue. I could hint at that combo instead. So from here, you could go two ways, depending on how you tweak your color scheme. You could go all orange and blue. If I keep the hair more orange and I add a reddish undertone to the gold, the brass. Or I could go red, yellow, blue, keeping the brass very yellow and making the hair more red. So you actually could go either way. So this color scheme, even though everything is blocked in, this color scheme could go one of two different ways, and both are perfectly fine ways to go. Yeah, DFW is crazy big. Yep, Turgeon, yep. I was going to go a little longer, but I'm looking at what I want to do. I think I want to... go with my... I might want to do just some white real quick. We can do that during the last 5-10 minutes here. Yeah, I'm hoping this weekend will be good. It'll be fun. Yeah, it's just a really big airport. I was impressed when I found out how big it was when I first moved there. Just mixing up some white so we can work on finishing out the section of the cape here that I didn't touch at all. But it's a gigantic, I mean, it's because it's a hub for American Airlines, right? So it just moves a lot of people. And the new terminals are very well organized. I'll give that to Texas. Like, when they started redesigning, like when they redid Terminal D, which is the international terminal, I at first didn't like it, but it is really laid out well to get more traffic in and out. It's just as the airport has grown. And now that Texas had a whole bunch of people move to it, like more and more people moving to Texas, more and more businesses, big businesses moving to Texas. So there's more and more flights. I can see why. See why they would expand. But yeah, it's a monstrous big airport. Yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I want to sit down a little bit tonight and do a little bit of planning. David has left the weekend pretty freeform, which I like. I usually like to do like one big thing a day on vacation and then relax. Like I do one big thing in the morning, early afternoon, and then I relax for the rest of the day. So that's kind of my plan. I'm going to bring my knitting with me. I decided not to bring my painting because it's just a lot to haul along, whereas I can grab my ball of yarn and go for it. So I think I'm going to bring the knitting, and we're rewatching early episodes of Bake Off. So we're at season 3 now, which I think season 3 or 4 is the one that I first watched with David a long time ago. But of course it's been so many years, I don't remember it at all. We binged it. So my memory pretty much absorbed it and then kicked it out in favor of remembering other things. It's like it's brand new, folks. This is why I can reread mystery series I've read before. As long as I wait long enough. Yeah. Yeah, everybody have a good weekend, even though... But yeah, so we'll probably re-binge some Bake Off, and we're bringing my computer and not David's, I think, so he won't be able to sit and play his video games. I'm just looking forward to being in the mountains. It'll be fun. Fun and pretty, and I hope that I hope the area that our hotel is really pretty because it's south of the park, just outside of it. I'm just gonna double down on my white back here, make sure that I'm bringing it up. I missed that fold before, so I have taken sketchbooks on other vacations, Pendrake, and done some sketching. But when it comes down to it, with a dog and a husband with me, I'm not going to get a lot of time. Like when I took sketchbooks before, it was 2 vacations where I knew I was going to have a lot of time. When I took my cruise with Katie to the Bahamas, back before I moved, That I brought my sketchbook there, and I got some nice sketching in. But I knew that I was going to be on my own for a lot of that, right? So, but if I've got David and Kiki with me, I'm not going to have time to sketch. Like, sketching takes like an hour or two of me sitting alone somewhere. And that ain't going to happen. So, yeah, it's vacations where if I go on vacation by myself, like if I go back to the UK at some point without David, I would love to get more. I like sketching buildings, and so going to like old cathedrals and stuff like that. I love doing that kind of thing. But I mean, let's face it. I've got my husband, and I kind of like hanging out with him. So it's more likely that if I go to Europe, I've got a David with me, and there won't be time to sketch. Hear the Kiki moving around. Oh, and David just got... Yeah, that is Daddy Keekers. She's going to be so confused.
I'm home early.
Yeah, there he is. He's home for just... It was bike to work day, so he biked to work this morning, and then now he's got a team building thing this afternoon, so he wants the car for that. Hello, honey.
Hi.
But yeah, okay, so we've gotten the white a little bit stronger back here. I really will build it up because I'm using it kind of transparent. She's so excited you're here. She's going to be so confused when he walks out again. There we go. So, I mean, I'll keep building up the white until it's really strong. Because it's still a little bit see-through in some areas. Like, I can tell with every layer I put on that I'm building it up. It's a 4 to 3, I think, at this point. Four drops of white to 3 drops of water. So I'm getting texture, but it also is somewhat translucent. So as I continue to add layers, I'll have that come up and the shadows will look darker. Yeah, I think that's pretty standard. I've got little rubber tips that go on my needles. I put them on when I stop stitching. I could do if I wasn't driving, I could in the car, no problem, but obviously I'm the driver. We're taking the element since we're going with Kiki. Oh, did he leave again, Papa? Aw, she's gonna be so confused because Daddy came home, but then Daddy left again. Poor Papa. Poor Papa. But anyway, so I'm going to take off and give the sad Kiki who just lost her daddy again, a walk. And I hope you all have a lovely day. And I might put some pictures. If I get some nice pictures, I might put them on my Patreon Discord of the trip. So stay tuned. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Have fun, hang out, enjoy nice weather, do something crafty, paint a little. Yeah, I think they are supposed to have feline bite marks, Carnico, but I mean, I don't. And I haven't let my canine get near them because they would disappear down her gullet. So, yes. Yeah, have a great one. So I'll be back on Tuesday, everybody. And on Tuesday, we'll be back to Quindy's favorite necromancer and our other evil mage with the spell effect. All right? See you later. Bye-bye.